The Galactic Survival Championship begins the most watched show in the galaxy, promised chaos, but nobody expected chaos to look so human. In the swirling neon haze of the Galactic Broadcasting Consortium's orbiting megastation, a voice echoed through every living room, bar, and street holoscreen from the Scutum Centaurus arm to the quietest dust clouds of Andromeda. Welcome, sentient beings of every kind, to the Galactic Survival Championship, the only show where your favorite species either adapt, die, or become memes forever. This season, all bets were off. The rules had changed. The producers, a gaggle of Zraxian executives who wouldn't know a real forest from a potted plant, had decided to include a wild card, a species so backward, so hilariously underdeveloped that even the betting houses thought it was a joke. Humans, they said, had only figured out fire a few thousand years ago. Surely they'd be the comic relief, a sideshow for the galaxy's true survivalists. The selection process hadn't gone as planned. Galactic talent scouts beamed down to Earth expecting docile primitives and instead came back with 3 humans who redefined underestimated. There was Marcus Webb, a Marine whose calm smile was unsettling, even when he was just peeling an orange. Luna Rodriguez, an engineer who solved problems in her sleep and once built a working drone from 2 dead phones in a coat hanger. And Pete Thompson, an Iowa farmer whose hands could coax life from desert or wring water from rock, who said more with a single nod than most people did in an hour dot as their transport dropped into Kepler 442c's poisonous skies. The show's announcer cackled, "This is the season you'll never forget." The other contestants filed out, the Zephyrins, shimmering crystalline intellects who argued about optimal light absorption. The Muckoids, dignified, slimy philosophers, and the Thornbacks, militaristic insectoids who snapped into parade formation. On landing, the rules were simple. No technology. No advanced gear. Only what you could craft with your own hands from the deadly bounty of a planet that wanted you dead by nightfall. Aliens unpacked the equivalent of luxury Stone Age starter kits, reading manuals and debating the purpose of Kinder. Meanwhile, the humans were gone. In less than an hour, Marcus had built a fire. Luna had a water filter bubbling away, and Pete was halfway to mapping out edible roots and trapping lines. Cameras followed them as Marcus whittled a spear. Luna tested tensile strength on vines. And Pete dug into the black, mineral-rich earth. The producers watched in confusion. "A glitch?" muttered Claxon, head of the show, as the betting odds started shifting. They're not supposed to have fire until day 2. On the first night, the humans were warm and dry, their bellies full of roasted tubers and safe water. The Zephyrins shivered in the dark, unable to generate enough heat. The Muckoids hid in a soggy hollow, glumly philosophical as local wildlife sniffed at their glowing slime trail. The Thornbacks debated tactical shelter arrangements so long that the acid rain ruined their supplies and somewhere in the orbiting command center, Claxon began to sweat. The humans weren't playing by the book. They were writing a new one. Humans set the pace, and the others can't keep up. Day broke on Kepler 442c, with a chorus of alien complaints and 1 human camp already bustling with activity. Luna was up first, cataloging plants and checking the slow-drip water filter she'd rigged from vines and stones. Marcus inspected the trap she'd set, coming back with 2 edible lizards and the cheerful announcement that their skins would make decent cordage. Pete, already at work, hummed as he checked the smokehouse he'd fashioned from scavenged bark and fire pits. The other contestants floundered. The Zephyrins tried to focus sunlight with their crystalline bodies, but ended up with nothing but scorched moss. The Muckoids, whose glowing trails now attracted every hungry predator in the region, attempted to meditate their fear away, only to be interrupted by the howling of Keplerian wolves. The Thornbacks, intended as the most dangerous, spent hours arguing about resource allocation protocols, their leader Mandible insisting on perfect perimeter security, while their teammates slowly starved, thought it was Pete who found the Muckoids, huddled. In a cave, he handed them some of his wild pepper seeds. "Scatter these," he said. "Keeps most critters away." Glomulus, the philosophical muckoid, could only stare. You just grew these? Luna watched the Zephyrins with a mix of pity and curiosity. Here, you ever try this? She asked Quartz, their leader, demonstrating the bow drill. Friction, heat, then fire. The Zephyrins' elegant, prismatic limbs fumbled the sticks. But Luna's patience paid off within minutes. For the first time in their history, a Zephyrin started a fire. Marcus didn't hesitate to help the Thornbacks either. Look, he said, breaking up their argument. You want perimeter defense? First, you need food. Second, you need shelter. If you want to argue about who gives, orders, do it after you're dry. Something about his voice, calm, firm, used to command, got through. And for the first time, the Thornbacks built something resembling a shelter. The humans kept teaching, and the aliens kept watching, learning. By the end of day 2, the human camp had grown, a fortress of sharpened stakes, smokehouses, water filters, and drying racks. The other teams, even the reluctant Thornbacks, had fire, food, and hope because 3 humans saw every challenge as a puzzle, not a death sentence. Galactic viewers started to catch on. Instead of betting on human failure, the galaxy began betting on how soon the other teams would ask the humans for help. Apex Stalker, Human Ingenuity versus Alien Panic Day. 3 dawned with a scream. A shadow crashed through the trees, a beast, taller than 2 Thornbacks, bristling with claws, teeth, and fury. The Apex Stalker, a predator that had killed dozens of past contestants, charged straight into the main camp up as Zephyrins froze, trying to calculate its trajectory. The muckoids hid under a log, reciting existential philosophy about the transience of life. The Thornbacks, ever military, formed a perfect line which lasted exactly as long as the creature's charge shattered their formation. But the humans? Marcus grinned. Luna, boomsticks? 2 minutes, Luna called, already assembling improvised grenades from scavenged minerals and dry resin. Pete, count range? 30 seconds? Pete knocked an arrow into a bough he'd carved from. Local wood, his calm so complete it was almost unsettling. The attack was a blur of motion and precision. Marcus darted forward, yelling and hurling rocks to distract the beast. Pete fired an arrow into the creature's flank, making it spin toward him. Luna's explosive went off with a crack, driving the predator back. Marcus leapt behind the beast, driving his spear into the soft spot beneath its shoulder. The monster roared and thrashed, but the 3 humans never faltered, moving in concert, anticipating each other like old comrades. The watching aliens, contestants, and producers alike could only stare. The humans weren't just fighting, they were planning, adapting, exploiting every advantage, turning a hopeless attack into a deadly ambush. The beast collapsed, and instead of cheering, the humans immediately set to work, field dressing the kill, smoking the meat, and teaching anyone who would listen how to turn threat into opportunity. Producer Claxon watched the ratings spike. Across the galaxy, viewers watched not just for survival, but for the spectacle of primitives turning the tables on their supposed betters. Lessons in survival, the human way as the days passed. The human's confidence turned from quiet strength into open instruction. They taught fire starting to Quartz, who'd never believed friction could make plasma. Marcus built a simple signaling system for the muckoids, using their glowing slime as an early warning network against predators. Luna rigged rain catchers and helped the Thornbacks understand that sometimes leadership was about action, not endless debate. The alien teams changed. The Zephyrins, once lost in theory, began to experiment, even delighting in their first fire-cooked meal. The muckoids, comforted by Luna's practical kindness, ventured farther, collecting wild edibles. Without fear. The Thornbacks, now guided by Pete's plain-spoken wisdom, learned to act first, analyze later. Humans showed them something else. 2. Sharing knowledge without expectation of reward. We're all in this together, Marcus said, tossing a smoked haunch to a hungry Thornback. Survival's a team sport. Galactic viewers were hooked. The betting pools swung wildly in the humans' favor. The producers, desperate for drama, tried to introduce new hazards acid rain, flash floods, more predators, but the humans adapted, improvised, and led their unlikely alliance through every crisis. On day 6, the combined camps looked nothing like the divided groups who'd landed. Defenses had been reinforced, resources shared, and everyone, alien and human, was healthier and more hopeful than any previous season. The only real question was not whether the humans would win, but how many others they'd take with them. To the finish line. The ultimate twist. Humans redefined victory. The final trial came without warning. The biggest storm Kepler 442c had ever seen. Winds tore at the camps, rivers burst their banks, predators prowled in the chaos. For lesser species, it would have meant panic and collapse. But not this time. The humans organized, calling out instructions, building barricades, setting up rescue patrols. Luna's improvised rafts saved the muckoids from floodwaters. Marcus led a defense line that turned back a pack of hunting beasts. Pete coordinated food stores and kept spirits up, handing out warm broth as the temperature dropped. The alien teams, once lost and divided, now acted as one, following human guidance without hesitation. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, facing the worst the planet could offer and laughing at the odds. When extraction ships finally descended, the producers expected tears, breakdowns, maybe a dramatic confrontation. Instead, they found a festival, humans and aliens sharing stories around the bonfire, toasting with mugs of distilled sap and promising to visit each other's worlds. Across the galaxy, trillions watched and cheered. The consensus was clear. The primitive humans had changed everything. They'd redefined what survival meant, not just outlasting others, but lifting everyone with them. The Galactic Survival Championship would never be the same. And as Marcus, Luna, and Pete climbed aboard the shuttle home, they exchanged a look that said everything. It was never about being the strongest. It was about being the smartest, the kindest, and the most stubbornly alive creatures in the cosmos. And next season, the producers quietly changed the rulebook. No more underestimating humanity, because once the humans arrived, everyone else just had to catch up. Asterisk.